Hello, welcome. Today, I'm going to be drawing an Eevee.
The only things you need to follow along with this tutorial are some kind of drawing tablet. In my case, I'm using a Cintiq, but you can use any kind of drawing tablet. And then you will also need a copy of Photoshop, or you probably could even use other programs like GIMP or Corel Painter, just something that draws. Alright, so let's get started.
So first we go up to new. I usually use like 2500 by 2500, 300 resolution. So the very first thing we're gonna do is unlock our background layer. I usually just call this like white, just so that there's like a base color. And then I'm gonna save the file. Tutorial. Okay. And let's just put that in the main folder. I'm using these little bracket keys to make my brush bigger. So I'm going to be drawing a full body Eevee, so I'm going to start with this circle shape and then have a little crosshair on it for the face. And then I'm going to just sketch out a little body, and that's probably pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect, this is just a sketch. And then the legs are gonna probably go around there. Start with the back legs. Kind of just get the shape here. And putting in some front legs, just to kind of give a little pose. So these are just blocking in basic shapes. And let me get another back leg back there. Let's get the little mane in here. Usually do like 3 big swoops. And then the tail goes up around here, and then big ears, and there's triangle shapes in there. And I usually have like a little hair there. Let's have the big eyes, a triangle shape for the nose, and then a little happy face. And let's push these cheeks out a little more. I'm just gonna do Control T and make this bigger so it can fit in this whole screen. And I'm actually going to make this layer be called Rough Shapes. And I'm going to bring the opacity down. I'm going to make a new layer called Tied Down Roughs. And I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. This might end up being my line art, it might not. Depending on how clean I want it to be. Because I'm kind of changing some stuff. Because I don't know if I really like how its face came out. So kind of just like tracing over these shapes. Like sometimes I like having a sketchy look because it's just more appealing to me than like super crisp clean lines that are like don't have any life. So like it's depending on the piece, it is how clean my lines are. And so I'm kind of like taking these and like adding a little more details to these little elements and stuff. And like trying to shape things out a little better so that it actually goes with it. I'm just sometimes bringing out the eraser tool, holding down E. And then we got like the big shine that's gonna be there. At this point I'm thinking I'm not even gonna do clean lines because these are kind of tied down enough that it'll get the point across. Yeah, like I'm getting a little cleaner than I wanted to in some of these areas. But I guess that's because my roughs weren't terrible. So yeah, I'm gonna turn off the rough layer, and you know, there's like some weirdness happening here, but this is just meant to be a sketch anyway. Taking out a few of those overlapping lines and kind of like fixing up some shapes here and there. And then what I do is make a layer, put it below. I'm gonna name this fur. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna choose like a brown color, since that's most of her fur is that color. And I don't like to color pick because it just feels more like it's cheating, that color. Yeah, that's pretty good. So sometimes I take the lasso tool when there's like huge areas. And like this doesn't have to be in the lines at all. Well, I mean it has to be in the lines, but there's like some space on the outside, that's fine. And then I do Alt Backspace, fills in the whole thing. And then I just bring my brush out and start putting in little details and stuff. Sometimes it goes out a little bit, and it's not a huge deal if it's like out of the lines a bit, but like I'm not gonna do that and say it's okay. So this part's usually takes a long time, especially if I'm trying to be super careful, but I'm kind of not right now. So it's not taking as long as it usually does. So then I make a different layer for each color. So let's do the mane next. And that's kind of like a lighter-ish, like it's still in the orangey brown category, but it's pretty, doesn't have a whole lot of color in it. So that's done. And then the black, just kind of filling in big areas. I'm trying to get this fairly filled in fairly quickly, just so I don't spend a whole lot of time just filling in details and whatnot. Let's just do mouth. That can all be one. Cause like sometimes I'll have the tongue be on a different layer, but I don't think we're in it. It's so tiny that there's gonna be like no shading in there anyway. And then the whites, which I usually don't use pure white, cause that's just a good rule to not use pure white, cause that's just too intense. Nothing is pure white, other than like computer generated stuff, and I don't want my stuff to look like that, so. Okay, and then what I like to do is add a BG layer. For this one, I'm kind of feeling maybe an orange. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, that looks good. So I just kind of like put a whole shape back here. That's probably good. And then I can take that white layer off and kind of just crop in a bit. Okay, so then what I'm doing is I make a layer that's right above the color. So I'm going to start with fur, and I'm going to call this shading. And I'm holding down the Alt key and then clicking right in between. So that creates a clipping mask. So what I'm going to do is take that fur color and just get a darkened version of it. For my recent stuff, I've been doing just like hard shading. So it's just kind of like putting in dark shadows and stuff. For a while I did soft shading and it looked good, but I feel like it took a lot longer and wasn't really the right thing to do for sketches like this one. For a finished piece, yeah, that's totally the way to go, but that's not what the purpose of this one is right now. So like I usually just throw in shadows wherever they look nice. See how it's only going inside of this brown area because I clipped it. If I unclip it, then you'll see that it goes everywhere, but we don't want that. So in my shading layer, I usually put in some highlights too. So just like a brighter color. Sometimes these are like really subtle, and I don't want to like have them be super prominent because then she'll just look like a shiny weird thing. This is not a shiny Eevee, so don't need that. But yeah, I'm putting them just throughout so that one spot doesn't look like it's particularly shiny in comparison. And sometimes you can take that medium color and just kind of like bring it in here to bring out some of the colors, because that'll look like a highlight there. And then I move on to the next color, the mane, and I'm gonna do that same thing, where I just add in darker colors. That might even be too dark, but let's see it a little brighter than that. Yeah. So that's fine to be the back one. It's not a huge deal. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, let's take the black parts. And since this was already dark, this might not even show up a whole lot, but get a little bit in there just to give it a little variation. Do slightly lighter. Don't want to have too much of that, but that's pretty good. Or yeah, we're not even gonna have shading for the mouth, so I'll just put that on the white. That might not even need shading either, but you know, yeah, that's fine. What I usually do is I duplicate with Control J on the background, and then I just kind of put, since this is an Eevee, I write Eevee. That's pretty much it. That is how I digitally draw. And then I save it out as a PNG and all kinds of stuff. Thanks for watching.